Hello and welcome to my very first online album pack that you can purchase from me. I'll give you the details at the end of the video for this. So when you've got your pack, you will see that you have got your book ready-made for you with all its pages in. There is a video on how to do this so that if you want to do future ones you can. I'll put a link to that in the instruction manual that will also come with it. So your instruction manual will give you the measurements for the book construction and a link to the YouTube video so that you can see how to make it if you want to make this another time. But this one will come already prepared, and you'll see that I've written front on the front. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to suggest you get a pencil, and on all the pages inside, I know you can't see that, actually I can't see that, so where's my proper pencil? Nope, I had a proper pencil somewhere. I'll use a pen. Just draw an arrow, and that will stop you from doing an Australian page. So just go through, draw an arrow on each page like this, so that you know which way up to put each page. Okay, so in your pack you will have a front cover for your book. Got bits flying out at me. So this is your front cover picture, and you will have a piece of card that it will fit beautifully onto. So in order to make your front cover, very simply, go round. Remember, less is more with the glue, and you're going to place that. You will have a little border all the way around the edge. If you can, use a wet glue because you've got wriggle room to get it straight. Okay, so reasonably happy with that. You'll have more time, you can spend a bit more time. And then that is going to go onto your front cover, like so. There we go. So that's your front cover made. Now obviously you can put anything else on there you want to. You can add embellishments, but that's your basic front cover. You also have a piece of a piece of decorative paper that is going to form your spine. It's been cut to the right size. All the measurements are in your instruction book. So we will look at that in a minute and just go through those. So that is going to go onto your spine like that. And at this stage you can flatten your book because it hasn't got anything in it, and you can just put it down straight. And then for the back, I've just given you a piece of card. Now if you want to decorate that with something else you can. I always tend to leave my back blank, but that's completely up to you. So I'm going to put that on to the back like that, and that's the outside of your book complete. So if you have a look at your instructions, it tells you how to create your actual book using your grey board. It tells you how to create the pages inside your book as well. Okay, so we're now going to have a go at doing the inside front cover. Now with this, you'll notice in your packs that every pack is 2 pages, and that's because the one is a mirror of the other. So your front cover page and your back cover page will be in the same pack. You decide which colours you want to use. All the papers are double-sided. I have cut them so that they all match on one side, but you know, go with the flow. Do something different. It's completely up to you. So in your front cover page, get the right one, in your front cover page, you will have, let me find the instructions so that we can look at it together. You will have a piece of card that measures 8 by 6. This is what we're going to build the page on. You will then have a piece of decorative paper that is 7 3/4 by 5 3/4, and then I have cut it into 2 parts. Okay, you will then have a piece of card at written down the actual size of that because it depends where you cut it, but you'll have a piece of card that fits there. I haven't given you the size of where you're going to cut, quite simply because it will depend on, if you're doing this again, it would depend on the pattern. So all you need to do is cut it into 2 pieces and have a piece of black card big enough for one side. On this other piece, I know it looks like there's nothing on there, but if you look closely, you will see there are actually photo slots. And I've given you 2 pieces of card that fit in the photo slots. So before you do anything else, fix those into the slots. Now the reason we do this right at the beginning is so that when we stick it down, we can see where not to put glue. Okay, so I'm going to put that in there, and these will fit exactly. So I've used Cool Cats dies to cut those photo slots, and they come with the mats to put in the middle. So that will fit exactly into there like that. You will also have a large square piece, or it's not quite a square, a rectangular piece, and it's got a score line at one end. So we're going to fold that score line, and because we want this to sit flat, we are going to burnish it, really burnish it. You can't burnish it enough. Okay, so you're really going to go to town on burnishing that fold. That will help it to lie flat, which is what we want it to do. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to move this book out of the way, is the first thing I'm going to do, because I don't want to get glue or anything else on my book at this stage. So I'm going to move my book out of the way. So the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is we're going to stick this to this. So you're going to use this glue flap, and you're going to put a little bit of glue onto there. And you're going to centre it. Now you can use your marks on your mat if you've got it. You can use a ruler. I'm doing this quickly, so I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm just going to eyeball it so that it sits on the edge of your page. So the fold line, the hinge, lines up with the edge of your page. And when you're happy that it's straight, again, burnish it some more. And then open it up and burnish this. Okay, so What you will have then is this nice and neat on that page. You can't burnish enough. You seriously can't burnish enough because you want it to lie flat. Okay. You've then got 2 pieces of pattern paper. Now yours won't be exactly the same, but it will be from the same sheet. So we're going to put those to one side, and no, we're not. We're going to do these. So these are going to fit on here. Now, when you get it and you open it and you're going to say, but they don't fit. That's fine. There's a reason for that. So with the edge almost at the hinge, so that you're going to leave just a little border all the way around and a big border here, you're going to stick this on. Remember, it's double-sided. If you prefer the other side, use the other side. So what I'm going to do is just open that so that I know I'm sticking it to the right piece. So with a little border, I'm going to stick that onto there. And I'm just going to use my multi-purpose tool. Get rid of any excess glue and just make sure that is really firmly glued down. And then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So it's not on the hinge, you've got a little bit of a border. So I'm just going to put some glue around this. And again, with the glue, less is more. Don't go right up to the edge, otherwise it squelches out. I mean, you've seen some of mine are squelched out, even not going right to the edge. But if you do go right to the edge, it will squelch out everywhere. Okay, I'm just going to stick that down and give it a bit of a squidge around. Make sure that's firmly stuck. So you've got this bit here. In your pack, you should have 2 thin pieces of card and 2 pieces of matching paper. Okay, so you'll note that on the other side it's the same pattern as your papers here, but we're going to use the reverse of it. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick that into the middle of that. So we're going to stick that like that, put it in the middle, and we're going to do the same with the other one. So with the reverse pattern, I'm going to pop that onto there, that onto there, and then we're going to put that on that edge, but not just as a decorative border. We're going to create a pocket. So your pocket is going to be here. So I always say, put your thumb where the pocket is going to be so that you know that's where you don't want to glue. And then a little bit of glue around the edge here. So this is time when you do want to go close to the edge, but you only want to use a little bit. Again, I'm going to lift it up because it's actually black on black. And I'm going to stick that, and it should, if I've done my job correctly, fit exactly. So I'm just going to open it up like this. And I'm just going to press that edge down, press that edge down, press that edge down. Don't try and put anything in it yet. You'll notice that there is a direction to the little Christmas trees as well. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same on this side. So I've stuck that on that, making sure my Christmas trees are in the right direction. That's where my thumb is going to go because that's going to be the pocket. A little bit of glue there, a little bit of glue down there, a little bit of glue there. And we're going to pop that on to that side. And again, give it a bit of a burnish. Just helps the glue if you warm it up a little bit. Helps it get absorbed into the card. Okay, so that is your flap almost finished. The only other thing you're going to do is you're going to take your little flap. So you have a little piece like this. I'm going to fold it in half. Okay, just give it a bit of a burnish. And then you're going to glue in the inside on both sides. And again, you can measure this up and centre it. I'm going to eyeball it. So I'm going to put it down one side, fold it over, and then squash the two bits together. And then put that onto there, that onto there, and you've created a tab, and you'll see that tab much better when we decorate the inside. So that's our flap done. So now we've come to the inside part. We're going to start with this page with the photo slots in. So what we're going to do is we're going to put glue around the outside, like so. And then I usually go around the photo slots, but not too close, but I do go around them just to give them a bit of extra strength if people are putting photos in and out, but just not very close. And then a little bit like that, and then that, making sure it's the right way up. There is a picture on that, so make sure it's the right way up. That is going to stick down like that. Just make sure you've got that border so that it's not impacting that hinge at all. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of any excess glue. We're going to go around and we're just going to make sure that's firmly glued down. Now, it's up to you whether you leave these in or not. I always leave them in simply because I want people to see where the photo slots are, but they do detract from the pattern. I also leave them in because then people know exactly what size photo to cut. But it is completely up to you. You can choose maybe to leave one in, or you can choose to leave none in. It's up to you. It's quite hard, particularly on this colour and with this design, to see the photo slots if you haven't got the mats in. This piece, which is now our last piece, we're going to stick this onto the piece of card. Now, you can alternate so that you could stick this the other way up, but because we've got a picture here, it's actually better, I think, to keep the picture going. But you could have it that way up and have a contrast piece here. And I often do that if it's a patterned paper, but as it's got a picture and as I've gone to the effort of trying to make sure the picture matches, you might want to do that. Again, you're going to have a pocket, so thumb over where you don't want to glue, a little bit of glue around here, and then same thing again. We're going to pop that down and we're going to go and very carefully, trying not to let glue go everywhere, we're going to burnish that down as well. So I wouldn't suggest at this stage that you start messing about with the pockets. give the glue time to dry. Okay, these are dry now, so you can see you've got a little pocket there, you've got a little pocket there, and when it's dry you'll have a bigger pocket there. So that is your inside front cover, and in your pack you will have a whole set to do the inside back cover, and you're just going to mirror it. So it's going to be exactly the same, it's just going to be mirrored on the other side. So you'll probably find the papers are different, but that's fine. It's just the actual design that is mirrored. You don't have to mirror it. You can alternate your pages. I just give you a rough guide of what page goes where. I'm not saying do my guide, follow my guide exactly. You might decide to do that and that page as a mirror, and then that and that page. It really is up to you how you do it. I've just given you the tools in order to make your book. So I'm going to pop that, glue all around the edge there, glue across the middle, and then that is going, whoops. Oh yes, that is my first page. I thought I'd gone wrong then. That is just going to go onto there, and I'm going to lift up that flap so that I can go round, rub that in, it warms up the glue. Okay, and then that goes on there. That's your front page, and if you choose to do it as your back page, the other packet in that first pack will go there, and you have the instructions now to do that. So we're going to move on and we're going to do page 2. So I'm going to put that to one side. So page 2, whoops, is a manual waterfall. So if you go to page 2, you can see this is page 2 and page 11. So again, in your pack, you'll have 2 sets for this, and you can choose which papers you use, which designs you use. So let's go through everything that will be in one of those packs. So you will have a piece of card, same as before, at 7 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's where we're going to build the page. You will have a piece of paper at 5 1/2 by 7 1/2. That is going to form the base of your page. Now again, you've got 2 sides. You choose. I'm going to go with this one. You don't have to. Okay. You will also have 4 pieces of card that have a score on them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to score those. Sorry, we're just going to fold and crease. So we want this to lie flat. So we're going to be burnishing this really well. And we'll probably burnish it 6 times between now and when this page is finished. Okay, so a really good burnish. So this tool is a multi-purpose Teflon tool. And the joy of a Teflon tool is it doesn't mark the black card. It doesn't make it shiny. It doesn't mark it. My particular one is a Corkats one. It's ergonomically really nice, but you can get Teflon tools, multi-purpose tools, from a lot of places. So I am going to just do that, and then I'm going to do the 4th one in the same way. Okay, so I'm going to do the 4th one in the same way, and we will come back and we will burnish those over and over again. Excuse me. You will also have 4 pieces of paper that will mount onto there. Now you'll notice that they are the same pattern as that. I'm going to suggest, and it is only a suggestion, that you use the reverse. So if you decide you want it that way round, then your flaps might be there. You might do it all in the same colour. Just, for me, you do need some contrast, but that's just me. You might be different. Okay, so we're going to stick one of these onto the front. So there's your flap. So we're going to stick it onto the front of each one of these. So one of these on each one of your flap pages. And it's another excuse to do a bit more burnishing. Okay. So we can just go around and burnish that again. And then we'll do the second one. And we're going to put that on like so. And again, we've got a perfect excuse to burnish that fold again. And then we'll do the third one. That way up. So you can put a piece of paper, or I sometimes do plain white card on that side as well, but most people would just like to put their photo on it, so I tend just to leave it. So that one's going to go onto there, and I'm going to burnish that down. So again, all the measurements that you need are in the booklet that comes with it. The booklet does have a date at the front. That was the date of the actual live course that we did, so you can ignore that. And then that one's going to come round like that, and that's going to go on there, and that's the fourth one done. Okay, so I'm just going to go around, burnish all of those. Whoops, like that, and that's the fourth one done. And I'm just going to put those to one side for a moment. So I'm now going to stick this onto the page, like so. And you'll have a border around the edge again. I tend to cut my papers 1/4 of an inch smaller. That gives you 1/8 of an inch around each side. I also tend to just use black or navy blue card because then that makes the colours pop. If you've ever watched the wonderful Paul Ford, he always, as well as doing this, he always goes around the edge of his with ink. I always intend to, and I always forget to. But his books are so professional looking. They're just brilliant. Okay, so we're going to put that to one side for a moment. So also in your pack, you've got a plain square with no folded edge. You've got a piece of pattern paper that has a little flap cut into it. So I've used Corkat's dies and I've cut the flap in for you. So what you're going to do, you'll see there's a little sort of fold line. You're just going to gently, you're not going to do any burnishing this time. You're just going to gently fold that back. Okay, so I've just got my fingers there because I don't want to fold it too much, and I'm just gently pulling that back a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to stick that on to here. You'll see the back of this really isn't a particularly nice piece of card. I mean, some of you may have a better picture on the back, but I tend to think the side that I've cut the flap into is the better side. So you go around the edge and then you go round the edge of the flap, because you hope people will open and close this flap quite a lot. So you want to make sure it's well glued down, and then just a little bit in the middle like that. And then I always find it's easier to hold on to the flap You're going to position that in the middle of your black card, like so. Okay, and we'll just burnish that down, get rid of any excess glue. I always go to bed with loads of glue all over my fingers. Okay, like that. And then you'll find you've got 2 pieces of patterned paper that have been cut to fit, and a piece of card that's been cut to fit. So one of the pieces of paper we're going to mount onto the card, because this is going to go inside the door of the flap to reinforce and strengthen the door, and also to cover up the patterned paper that's underneath that doesn't match. So I'm going to go in there with that. Okay, and you can see I've matched that up to that. So we've got something different around the edge, but we've matched that up to that. So that one is going to stick just inside your flap. It is slightly smaller, but that's fine. Okay, so we're just going to glue the card. And we're going to pop that on there. And I've chosen paper that isn't directional, because it gets a bit more complicated when you've got to think one goes that way and one goes that way. So this is non-directional, it really doesn't matter. And then the other piece is going to go inside there. You'll have a slight border around the outside. Okay, so we're going to just do that. And we're going to pop that inside. Okay, now your flap's a bit flappy, so you need something to hold it in place. So in your little pack where you found your flappy bits, you will also find some other bits. And what you are going to hopefully find, and I'm just thinking that one that flew off a few minutes, there it is. What you should find is you've got 2 of these little stick things. You've also got 2 tiny little washers, and then you've got an oval with a hole in it. Okay, all will be revealed. So we're going to start with the 2 little stick things. Now you can just use one. I prefer to use 2 because it just gives you a bit more strength. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to stick them together. So a little blob of glue, you really don't need much. And I'm just going to use my fingers like that. And then I'm going to stick the other one on the top. So these are, again, these are Cool Cats dies, and these create those, split pins, brads, whatever you want to call them. And the idea of using these is that because they're just made of card, A, they're not going to mark any photographs or anything that you use, but also they are brilliant because you can just make them any size you want, you can decorate them however you want, and they're not too bulky. But they are a bit fiddly to make. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're going to use your thumb, only because it's got a rounded edge, and you want to create as rounded an edge as you can on a straight line. So use your thumb on the circle and press that in so that you do get a sort of slightly curved bit, so it just completes the circle. I found the easiest way to do that is then to get your 2 little legs, hopefully you can see them, hold them together at the tip, and then gradually push down. And you'll get to the point where you've got a little tiny triangle, and you just push the top of the pin into that triangle. And there is actually a very small fold score there. So you can then fold it in so that it's really hard to show. put it onto some white paper, so that what you end up with is a pin with two legs, and the two legs meet in the middle of the top of the pin. So you're then going to put a tiny bit of glue in the middle of that pin, and you're just going to press those two straight bits of the leg down onto the head of the pin, or the bottom of the head of the pin. You aren't going to glue those two legs together. You're just gluing them so that you end up with a brad or a split pin, okay, whichever you prefer to call it. So it's stuck to the base, but the legs are still not stuck. Just give that a couple of seconds to dry. While that is drying, I'm going to get my hole punch, and I'm going to punch a hole onto this base bit here. You've got the pattern, so you've got that middle centre pointy bit there, which will give you a nice centre point for your hole. So your hole isn't going in there, here, it's going on the base, but you can line it up with that pattern. So I'm hoping you can see. Let me just put it back on the white again. You've got a little hole there, and it's lined up with that point of the pattern there, so you know it's on the centre point. So we're going to go back to our split pin now, and we're now going to hold those two bits together, and we're going to feed on the two washers, and this is going to help this, the pin to swivel. So one. If you've only got one washer, just go with one washer. There probably will be another one inside your pack somewhere, but they get lost very easily and you don't really need two. So, but if you've got the two, use the two, but if you haven't, it doesn't really matter. And then it's going to go through this hole here. Okay, so you've now got a swivelly thing. That's the technical term for it, a swivelly thing. Your two legs are then going to go through this hole from the front to the back. So you can now see how that's going to hold that in place. Open the legs at the back, and because you've got the washers, you can actually put a bit of glue underneath each leg and glue them down. So I'm just going to glue those down like that. Okay, so you've now got a swivelly thing that holds your flap nice and neatly in place. Okay, so that's that. Right, now you can decorate that. You know, you can put a little bit of, I don't know, a little bit of decorative paper or whatever you wanted to put on there. I haven't cut you the decorative bit. The die does come with a decorative bit, but because, you know, I can't be sure which paper you're going to use and what you're going to do, so I haven't cut you a decorative bit, but you know, you can easily cut a small decorative bit or a bit of a gemstone or something on there, whatever you wanted to do, whatever you wanted to put on there. Okay, so we're now going to come back to the main part of our page, and these which you've probably forgotten about now because it was so long ago we did them. So we're going to start with the first one, and we're going to put the glue on this glue tab. So just a line of glue, doesn't need a huge amount. Okay. Now we're not going to start right up at the top. We're going to come down about 1/2 inch, and again I'm eyeballing it. You can centre it however you want to do it, whether you've got a centering tool or you want to use your ruler, however you do it. So you're going to centre that, and you're going to glue it down. Okay, so we're going to burnish that across there, and then burnish that again. Okay, so that's your first one in place. So with your first one in place, you're going to lift it back. You're going to get your next one. You're going to put your line of glue on the glue tab. And you're going to line it up, but with a hair's breadth, and I do literally mean a hair's breadth, between the first one and the second one. So you just want to see the tiniest bit of pattern, and you're looking to make sure that those are lined up exactly, and when you're happy, burnish it down. When you're burnishing, be careful it doesn't slide. Okay, we'll burnish that down. So now we've got 2 flaps in place. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to put some glue on the flap. We're going to hair's breadth. Make sure it's lined up with the other 2 rather, and burnish it down. Burnish it again. And then the 4th one, we're going to do the same thing again. Bit of glue. Put it on. Hair's breadth between. Make sure it's straight. Sorry, stopped talking then because I was concentrating. Make sure it's straight. Burnish it down. Okay, burnish it down there. I can see mine are going off slightly at an angle. All right, but you'll have more time to do that. Okay, so you can see even with the amount of burnishing I've done, it's still standing up a little bit, but that's fine. You can just keep burnishing. And then this is the little surprise that sits at the bottom here. So this is going to go over that final flap. Not so much that it impacts on the hinge, because you don't want it impacting on the hinge. So this little part that you've just made up is going to go on the bottom, covering up that last hinge and also offering a nice little surprise when you get to the bottom. Okay, so then they come over like that, and you should find you haven't got anything more than a slight border from the one at the bottom there. So in your pack you've also got what looks like just some spare bits, okay, and I haven't cut these to any size at all because, to be honest, it's going to depend how far you've gone up the top, but basically you're going to need a piece. I'm just trying to decide. I'm going to go with that pattern, okay. You need a piece that's going to fold over the top like that and come down, because what you're going to do is create a little flap for it at the bottom. So I'm going to cut it to about there. So I'm going to get my small team out and cut it to about there. I mean, there's nothing precise about this. These are just scraps that you know I've put in for you to create your strap with. So that's going to come down like that, but I do want it mounted on a piece of card. So at this stage now, I've also given you some card. You will need to mount it and cut it. So I'm going to mount it up on this. And then I will cut it to the right size. So I want a tiny border again. So I'm going to put that on there. Like that. And before I cut it, I just want to let the glue dry a little bit so I don't get glue all over my cutter. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to do the same with my bottom piece. And I can see that's not been cut straight. So I'm just going to trim that up so that it's straight. Okay. And then I'm going to mount that. See, do I want it that big? Yes, because that's quite wide, so I will keep it that size. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to put a bit of glue on there. Now you'll have to decide what size you want this. As I say, I've just given you a strip of paper and a strip of card. So I'm just going to do that. Put that one to one side to dry, because I need my big cutter. And I don't want to get glue on it. So I'm going to cut that. Like that, make sure that's straight. That wasn't straight. That's better. And cut that like that. And I can see where I've put my fold. So I could be very, very good and do a score, but I'm not going to. You can, okay? But I'm just going to do it like that because I knew where I folded it over and I could see. And then I'm going to trim this down the same. So I'm going to trim that down. Trim that down. Just get rid of the trimmer. Get rid of all these bits. So now I'm going to stick this over the back here. Try and centre it. Okay, so that's just going to go over the back there. And I would use some sticky tape just to reinforce it. So I'm going to use this tiger tape. I hope I can get the end. There we go. Oh. Okay. Should I got the whole thing? Yep. Okay, I'm just going to put a piece of that over the top just to hold that firmly in place, but a piece of double-sided tape or anything will do. I mean, it will hold anyway because it's going to go on the page, but just to give it a little bit of an extra. And then, oh, I can see I've trimmed that really badly. Just trim that up a bit. There we go. And then you're going to lay that over the top, put a little bit of glue on that edge and that edge, and that is going to stick there and there, and that's going to hold that flap into place. I can see that's not quite straight, but the glue's not stuck enough to worry yet, so I can move it. Okay, burnish that down, and that is your page now. I'm not going to pull it out because the glue's not quite dry. Okay, that's your page, and that's your page 2, and you've got your page 11 as well. So I'm going to pop this into here. Glue all the way around, and then always lift your page up because it's good job I did, because I did the wrong one. So always make sure it's a single page, make sure your arrow is facing up, and then that is going to go in the middle of that page, like that. I've stuck it. No, I haven't. Oh, I thought I'd stuck it to 2 pages, but I haven't. Okay, it was just me. Okay, so that's going to go in the middle, like that. All the way round, like that. And that's your second page completed. And then you're going to complete that again to go, well, wherever you choose for it to go in your book. But if you're doing it as a mirror, it's going to go on this page here. Okay, So we're going to leave it at that for today, and I will get the next pages ready and prepared for next time. Happy crafting!